You taking a look at your sports news. Cricket Australia has come down hard on the 3 players who admitted to their roles in the ball tampering scandal on day 3 of the third test match against South Africa at the Newlands in Cape Town. Australian captain and vice captain Steve Smith and David Warner have been banned from playing international and domestic for 12 months, while Cameron Bancroft, who actually committed the offence, received a 9-month sentence. All 3 players will have the right to challenge their verdicts and also the duration of their penalties. In addition, Smith has been barred from captaining the Australian side for a period of 2 years, while Warner will not be considered for a leadership role in the future. The duo were also barred from playing in the Indian Premier League. The disgraced trio are also heading back home today, 2 days before the final test match at the Wanderers in Johannesburg.
Keeping that in mind, we are also deciding that this season of IPL, these 2 players can't play, and we will give an opportunity to both the franchisees for replacements, so they can ask for a replacement in lieu of these 2 players. But this IPL season, they will not be allowed.
Well, for more on this story, we welcome in studio our sports analyst and producer Luyolo Mkalipi to help us unpack the verdict in as far as the Australian leadership. Luyolo, welcome back. It's great to see you again. I quickly want to talk about just the overall incident that has happened. Are the South Africans taking a moral high ground as if this has never happened in the South African cricket history? Or do you think the Australian side, I mean, in terms of the fans, the leadership, are they themselves being a little too hard on themselves considering the events that have happened?
Well, good afternoon, Paul. Thank you for having me. I think in this case, it's really the panic in Australia is really, justified. If you look at Australia, cricket in Australia is if not the biggest, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sporting codes in Australia. So can you imagine if football, we were to find out that our football has been cheating all these years? There would be an outroar, and government in Australia, like the Prime Minister, intervened and came out, in sort of, speaking against these players, these 3 players, and the other cry from our side, from the South African side, is the fact that the punishment is the same as someone who touched someone's shoulder during play, is categorized as a level 2 of offense. In this case,
and I guess the outcry, Luyolo, as well, is the fact that they came out and admitted to planning this ball tampering incident.
There's proof. There's admission that they've committed this, and Cricket Australia had no choice but to come before this and make their sanctions, which puts a spotlight on the ICC.
Indeed, a lot of people have had a lot to say about how the ICC has handled this entire incident. It basically seems as if they just gave the players a slap on the wrist, and their actions deserved, I guess, perhaps harsher penalties from the ICC themselves. Again,
we go back to their rules and in that code of conduct book of theirs, which is the ICC code of conduct book. It's all the levels and the demerit points. Touching or
physical contact,
as well as premeditated cheating, which is what happened in this case, is categorized as a level 2 offense, which means you get a 1-match ban, you get
a percentage of your match
demerit
fee.
Points. In this case, Warner got 3, and then you get a percentage of your match fee. Taken off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all back to the empires, the people who make these rules. It's cheating is the same as physical contact or deliberate physical contact. If we go back recently, Rabada and Steve Smith, they touched shoulders. That was level 2, and it's the same. according to the rules, is the same as cheating.
So, in your opinion, it's the ICC code of conduct, the rules that need to be revisited.
Exactly, and try to look at these rules holistically. What do they mean? How can they be adjusted? You know, because
and
remember,
how can the punishments fit the crime?
Exactly. But someone asked the question like, isn't it cheating the same as match fixing? It's not the same. Match fixing has their own rule book under the ICC rule book, where they say they call it anti-corruption rule book. You know what I mean? So that. It's a whole lot of mess that's going on there. The rules are the same for offenses that are not the same, and they just need to revisit them and see what's going on. And again, the spotlight is on them. They sort of took a step back or a backseat in all of this. They didn't take leadership, you know, stepping out and making these sessions. Cricket Australia came out first, you know, before the ICC, and the ICC came out later in condemning and making this punishment known, that it's one match ban. And
indeed, it just wasn't enough for cricket fans around the world. All right, let's quickly move on to, I mean, I'm fascinated by what must happen in a cricket change room if the three players clearly planned to commit this ball tampering incident, and yet the coach says he didn't know. The players are coming out to protect the coach, it seems. How plausible is that? Is that really realistic, or is there something shady going on there?
No one really believes it. You know, I mean, if you as a coach or a manager, you know what's going on in your team. You know your players. You are with these players in the dressing room. In this case, who came up with the sandpaper? Who packed it from wherever they took it from? Who cut it? You know what I mean? So I think it's something that is known in the squad. It's just that they got caught this time around, and they had no choice but to protect the coach and take the fall, the captain, in this case, David Warner.
All right, so let's throw forward to Friday. I mean, we could already see in the third test that the Australian side looked demoralized. They almost had no direction. The morale was very down. Do you expect to see the same on Friday? And how well do you think South Africa will fare? Do you think they'll take advantage of, obviously, the emotional devastation of the team?
Obviously, we have to capitalize. I mean, the team right now is dismantled. You know, three players, two of their opening batsmen are flying back home. They need to bring in new replacements. These are two anchors, you know, Smith and Warner. You know, they've been batting very well for Australia for years. So the team is even built around them.
So the backbone of the team
is out. You know what I mean? So it's time for South Africa to capitalize. You saw on Friday, we just demoralized them, and we demolished, and we went in for the kill. I think we should expect the same at Wanderers. You know, take advantage of the situation. I liked Coach Otis Gibson's comment during the week that it's none of our business what's happening in their camp. We just want to play cricket.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're going to do.
Luyolo Mkalipi, thank you so much for making the time to chat to me once again this afternoon. Speaking all things cricket with me. Moving on to other sporting news now. The South African Football Association